Hi, Mark. It's Eric Roper calling with the Star Tribune.
Hey, sir. How are you?
How are you? Happy Wednesday, sir. Like it finally is going to warm up today.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get in touch. You know, I kind of followed the transportation bill as it went through, and we haven't talked since it all kind of, I don't know, it was kind of in limbo for a while there, I guess, until kind of last night when the governor signed it. And the Oak Grove provision is in there, and it's interesting. It's like all the other kind of Met Council structure stuff got taken out, but the Oak Grove component got left in, and I just kind of wanted to get your reaction. You know, the speaker said that he would make this hard for the governor not to sign, and I think that ended up kind of being the case in a way. But I was just kind of curious what you felt about that, and whether this kind of settles the issue for you guys, or, you know, I don't know. I just was curious what you thought.
I think it's a great day for all of my residents of Oak Grove. It sends a message that if you stand up against a group that's making demands on a city, that's just not right. If you work hard enough and get people at the legislature to understand our desires for growth and expansion, then if you get the legislators behind you. Now, Kurt did say that what we're asking is not out of range. We're not asking for more money. We weren't asking to do something that would impose disaster on their growth plans. All we were asking was to do something normal in allowing our residents to do the same thing that the rest of the residents get to do in our city. That's all we were asking. It's a great day. It really, truly is. But there was two parts to this, Eric. One was the Bill 1117, which was the Oak Grove high-density carve-out by the Met Council. And then the other part was our language that we wanted in there, which was 628. That language
would have changed about considering the regional plans in an administrative hearing.
Yeah, the language that we believed would have been clear, not only benefiting Oak Grove, but all residents in Minnesota that have to deal with the Met Council, was the shall not replaced with may consider. So a law judge may consider the reasonableness or other situations in the demands of the Met Council. I just found out that language, I don't know if you had a chance to look at that line item, but it's in the legislative file, line item number 107.33.
It's in the
transportation bill. Yep.
Oh, that is in there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in there, but they didn't use the language that we suggested. Somebody inside the legislature changed the language to just remove the word reasonableness, which doesn't make any sense. So 107.33.
Okay, so now it just says they may not consider the regional one. I forget what it said before.
The reasonableness of their decision.
So right now it says that the judge may not, or the hearing officer may not consider the reasonableness of the regional plan, and now it just says he cannot consider the regional plan or something like that?
Yeah, it's strange. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm running that by our city's attorney right now and trying to get an understanding of how the legislature changed that. I know that Representative Cal Bahr is going to bring it back for the wording changes that we originally wanted. I testified a lot. That's where I met you down at the Capitol.
How many hearings did you testify at, do you know?
Jeez. 6, I think.
Okay.
6 different times. I was down there for a full day from 7:30 in the morning until 9:15 at night one day.
Oh.
Obviously, I wasn't talking the whole time. But to be active in this really was an eye-opener for me. I'm kind of torn. I'm jubilant that our residents get their property rights back. I really, truly am. But I'm also torn that the language of 628 would make it so clear just did not enter into this bill. I had my eyes opened up where I don't like these omnibus bills. Mm-hmm. It's an ugly way to run the state in the country. I just, part of me says, look, why aren't we doing things that are...
There or,
Well, we had nothing to do with where the bill went. Your original question to me last night was you wanted to talk about why the bill got into the transportation bill. That's out of my hands. Matter of fact, we didn't know where it was going or what was being done on it for 2 or 3 weeks after I testified.
Yeah. Find out that it was in the final bill. Did you have someone at the legislature call you up? Or
I asked Kurt Daudt. I texted Kurt and Cal. I said, what's the latest? What's going on with my bill? And Kurt said that it's in process right now, and he'll let me know when it gets into a bill. And then the first agreement, where the governor said that they had an agreement from the Democrat side and the Republican side.
Right.
Kurt texted me and said it's in the bill and it's going forward and the governor will sign it. Well, then everything disintegrated and they had to go back to the table. And I had no idea where he put it until just a couple days ago.
Right. I mean, when this came up initially, and I was talking to him, and your dad had mentioned this, but to do something like this, he was saying the Met Council should figure this out because otherwise, we're going to get this in this bill, and this kind of opens the door to cities coming with similar requests. Because there was some belief, and I'd have to ask the Met Council about this, but there's some belief that this so specific of a change was somewhat unprecedented for the legislature to sort of come in into the regional plans and make a tweak like that. Do you think it opens the door to something larger for other cities to be coming and saying, hey, we're frustrated with this, we'd like this change or that change or what have you?
When a leader, an elected official like myself, is trying to stand up for its residents and we get nowhere with common sense legislative or legal actions, I'm elected to stand up for and be the voice for my residents. That's why I'm mayor. My only job is to stand up and make decisions on their behalf. And when I see an injustice by an appointed board, we have to look at what are the other steps. I never thought that the legislature could be a place to help us get what we need to get done for our city. When Kurt and Cal started looking at, and a previous city council member suggested it, I thought, yeah, right, like that's going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. But because, obviously Speaker Daudt is in a position and it's our city that he represents, he stood up for us. And I have to commend him for standing true to his word. What's that do for other cities? I hope it shows other cities that they can stand up and ask the questions and get all of the legislature, because it wasn't just Kurt Daudt or Cal Bahr. It was the committees.
Finish that thought.
Oh, okay.
Before you move on, finish that thought.
Okay.
I hope it shows other cities they can stand up and ask the question.
I hope it shows that other cities can stand up like I did for my residents. Instead of everybody saying, well, remember Lake Elmo. They kept throwing, everybody in the state of Minnesota uses that phrase, remember Lake Elmo. You're going to go down. They have the power. It doesn't do any good. You're going to spend a lot of time and the Met Council will run over you. Well, now maybe they'll stand up and say, remember Oak Grove? They worked within the legislature. There is a chance, there is some hope that the legislators in the House and the Senate will stand up for the residents that they represent and do what's right. And in this case, the Oak Grove residents got their land rights back.
And was it true that you guys, I thought I read in one of the minutes from a meeting, and I forget, maybe this is completely wrong, but were you guys kind of preparing kind of a fund of some sort in order to, if there was a legal battle or something like that, in order to be able to wage that, or am I completely misremembering something?
No, you were semi-accurate. The statement that I made, along with a lot of other city council members on our board, is obviously we don't want to spend taxpayer monies foolishly. But this issue was so important to us as elected officials and to our residents that we were willing to set aside funds to take it to court and stand up for those residents. Our budget is set up with monies that's set up for discretionary spending, that we would be willing to take whatever funds necessary and stand up for those residents' rights. If we had to go to court...
Like a certain amount set aside?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love to say we would do whatever it takes financially to stand up for those residents. It's worth that to me. Now, whether or not every city council member would say it's unlimited to stand up to them, some fights are worth fighting. I honestly...
Already been set aside or no?
No, we didn't set aside any, but there's a lot of money that every city council has discretionary spending, and we can take money set aside for whatever developments, whatever buildings, whatever we have money set aside for, and redirect that money for a legal fight, for example.
And then, so as far as next steps, so as you had already intended to do, you would be submitting a comp plan to the Met Council that re-guides this area as rural residential, which would be kind of 1 to or probably 2.5 acre lot type development.
Yeah, the rural residential planning it can go down to as small as 1 acre up to 2.5 acre minimums. Our minimums within the city, over most of the city, is already 1 home per 2.5 at a minimum overall density. So all we were asking was to take that 2,200 acres, I think it was, total, and just put that overlay, the 1 home per 2.5 acre over the whole city. And we were going to submit that in our comprehensive plan from the beginning anyways. If this hadn't gone through the legislature, we were going to submit that request to the Met Council anyways.
Got it. Okay.
More than likely, they would have rejected it.
Right.
Then we'd have to take them to court.
And I'm sure that this is a much complex relationship than I'm describing, but you challenged Speaker Daudt at one point, and I believe the primary, right? I mean, does this sort of scenario change your thoughts on him at all, or did you were sort of commending him for what he did here? But I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like he's sort of come more in line with where you think he should be? Given that you challenged him at one point.
Yeah, I actually did. I ran against him for the endorsement of the Republican Party.
Okay,
yeah, I ran against him, and at that time, his views, and I don't know of one politician or one person that I could even go, even though I like you, Eric, I don't know if our views align 100%. I don't know of any person that would run for office that you would agree with 100%. I saw something in Kurt Daudt when he stood up to the Met Council on our behalf that I had never seen before. And I was proud to say that in a public meeting at our city council meetings, at other speeches that I've given, at BPOU meetings. I'm a member of the Republican caucus, so when I stand up and tell them the actions and what Kurt Daudt did, I was very proud. I was very proud to say I saw a side of Kurt Daudt that I hadn't seen before. Now, does that mean I'm happy with the budget and the growth and the compromises that he's allowed to happen? Absolutely not. I'm not in favor of compromising our rights away and compromising growth in government. I know that there's a process that even I'm not aware of down there. I know that Kurt Daudt stood up for us in this case, and I have to commend him where I see it being fit. In this case, he stood up for the residents of Oak Grove and basically saved us from going to court and showing a judge that what we're asking for is reasonable.
Right, yeah.
I saw a side of Kurt I had been unaware of. Now, does that mean, that I'm just going to give him a pass on everything else? I wouldn't give anybody a pass on anything.
Right.
But what he did was above and beyond for Oak Grove, and I have to thank him, and all of the residents of Oak Grove have to thank him.
Yeah. Well, Mark, this is a big help. I got to run off to Shakopee. I'm going to a recycling facility today, which is always fun.
Cool.
But I appreciate you taking some time here.
Yeah, I appreciate, what Kurt Daudt has done, and I think how it got into the transportation bill, that would be a question for Kurt and Cal.